welcome to Millennial Focus Group. We are the Ava Cuties. My name is Jamie.
And I'm Kimmy.
And we are not joined by Robbie today, unfortunately. But today, we're going to talk about a very fun and controversial topic, books to movies. Sometimes a story is great when told in the written word, and you can use your own imagination. Sometimes a story is better told visually. Sometimes movie adaptations are good, and sometimes they suck ass. So we're going to talk about a few different examples, some good, some bad, some that actually were better as movies, even though they were a book originally. And we're just going to throw out our opinions, so you'll have to see whether or not you agree with our assessments. Which one should we start with? I feel like starting with my favorite is a really heavy one.
All right, guys, so we're starting with your favorite. We are heading down to Matamata, New Zealand. We are going down. Aren't you happy I know where that was filmed?
Yes, I'm very proud of you. As you can see, this very well-worn book is my copy of The Fellowship of the Ring, the first installment of The Lord of the Rings. I'm in the process of rereading it. Oh my god, it smells so good!
I just want the
So this is also very controversial because some people did not think that Peter Jackson's adaptation of the movies books was good. They think it deviated too much from the books. They believe it deviated from Tolkien's original intentions. And I think that's really, the complaints are very vague, which in my opinion means they're not very good. Because I think that this was a very incredible movie adaptation. And I'm pretty picky about these things. I tend to be a very, very harsh movie critic. I actually prefer to watch movies over read, but I am also an avid reader. And I have read the entire series, as well as The Hobbit, and I'm in the process of reading this for like the third time or something like that. So I grew up watching the movies, but as I went through and read the books, I realized how much original dialogue they kept, and when they couldn't put it into dialogue, they took snippets from the book. They took Tolkien's writing, and they implemented it in different parts of the movies, whether it was in lyrics in the soundtrack, or something that another character said, or in some sort of inscription or something. So I felt that the vibe was very true to Tolkien's original work. Not only do I think they did a job of keeping the movie classy and like, I don't want to say believable, but it was believable in the world that they created, so nothing was extreme. There wasn't a bunch of slow motion and really exaggerated effects. Everything was very realistic. There was very little CGI. A lot of the really intense, fantastical things were done with robotics and makeup and props, pyrotechnics. So much manpower went into those movies, and the actors did an amazing job. Whoever was in charge of casting was wonderful, and I know it was Peter Jackson's wish that the actors weren't super popular. Like, they weren't looking for just big names, they were looking for talent. And so they chose people who could accurately represent these characters. For example, Sir Ian McKellen, who plays Gandalf, was reading his copy of The Lord of the Rings often while on set. I don't know a lot of actors that are reading the book version of their movie while they're on set filming. And so, just through everything, I think that The Lord of the Rings did an amazing job. Like, trying to condense these very, very thick books with heavy prose and long descriptions and hundreds of years worth of history into something that we can watch and enjoy, like, as a popular culture.
I will agree with you. So I had a very different, obviously, she has read the books, watched the movies, and kind of been enclosed in this universe. Like, this is the universe that she loves. I'm very different. I love Lord of the Rings. I have a very different take on it. So the first book I ever read from Lord of the Rings in general, I will say the world, was The Hobbit, actually.
It was, yeah, I did too. I read it when I was in 4th grade.
Yes.
That was much before I could handle this.
Yes, so I read The Hobbit when I was very young. I think I was in 5th grade or 4th grade, around there. So I read The Hobbit and I loved the world. And so since I read The Hobbit, I read very quickly throughout middle school Lord of the Rings as much as I could. And I remember the world, and I remember going on the adventures, and I remember everything about it, but like not as like a vivid memory. I remember it as kind of like a state of being, like I was in that world. It was an escape for me. So but I never watched the movies. I never watched Lord of the Rings while I was reading the books or even after. I did not watch Lord of the Rings till I was 17.
What? I'm just now learning this?
I never wanted to tell you. I was 17 and I watched all 3 in a day. Well, 2 days, because we would watch some director cuts. So, like, honestly, the movies were really, really long.
Well, yes.
Yes. But I watched it at my friend... No, I was 16 or 17. I might have been just turning 17. I watched it at my friend Cassie's house. Cassie was really into Lord of the Rings as well and had all the movies. And so she said, you need to watch these. You've never watched them. You've read the books, though. And I said, yes. So watching the movies so long after reading the books was amazing. And that's how I knew they were good movies, because they captured exactly what I was feeling, exactly the adventures I remember, exactly how I wanted to relive Lord of the Rings. I didn't have to read them. Watching the movies was just as good. It was amazing. You know, I was a little sad because there were things they didn't incorporate because it took me so many hours to read the books versus how many hours the movies are. But it was the world. It was... Oh my gosh, it was like, now I'm thinking about it, I was like, oh, I remember those 2 days. It was great. It was a weekend. I stayed the night at her house. Oh, it was awesome. And I even told Cassie, I was like, did you ever, like, take time apart between the movies and the books? And she said, no, you know, I read a book and then watched the movie, read the book, watched the movie. I was like, really? Read the books, take some time, then watch the movies, or vice versa.
Did it bring the memories flooding back of things that happened in the book?
It did. And what's really fun is I know people that have seen the movies and not read the book, but then read the book years later after seeing the movies, and they love the books even more. Or, like, as much. And they were freaks about the movies. So I think that shows that it's good.
Right.
I really think that Lord of the Rings did a wonderful job in both segments, as books and movies.
I agree. It's not the kind of book that everyone would pick up and enjoy because, like I said, it is very, very heavy. It was written to be a history of ancient Britain. So it does read like a historical text. It almost reads like a Bible. These are the things that happened this year. These were the people who were involved. This is where it took place. And there is a little bit more, like, modern adventure in it as well.
Sure.
But some parts are really, really slow. So, obviously, nobody's going to contest Tolkien's talent, like all that alliteration I just did there. But, yeah, it's great both ways. An amazing experience. Here you can enjoy some of Tolkien's original artwork that is included in my special edition of The Hobbit. Real quick. Isn't that so cool?
That is really cool. Like,
he
that
knew
is
what
legit.
was up. He was a talented artist. So that's Hobbiton, by the way. Let's talk about The Hobbit then, because people feel very differently about Peter Jackson's version of The Hobbit than they do about Lord of the Rings.
So I'll just go out here and say the only thing that I was upset about The Hobbit movie-wise is it played too much on Hollywood. So I feel like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy was not like, we're worried about Hollywood and this is our budget and this is our money and we need to make this money back, blah, blah, blah. They were like, no, we're going to be true to the story. Where I feel like The Hobbit, though it was good movies, honestly they were good, it was very Hollywood-esque.
It was so much more Hollywood-esque.
Oh my gosh, it got annoying. You were like, yes, this is a great part in The Hobbit, but it didn't have this much fire and explosion and, like, quick pace of the story.
Or it didn't have these jokes.
Yes! Oh my god, I'm sorry. I know you need comic relief, but that is not Tolkien's comic relief.
There is comic relief in The Hobbit.
It is, but it's not. But what they did in the movie was not Tolkien's comic relief, so it didn't feel very much like him because it was forced.
It felt so different than the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that's not a reason to criticize it. Because even The Hobbit reads much, much differently than The Lord of the Rings. This is a fun, light adventure story. This is just about Bilbo's experiences. Whereas The Lord of the Rings is an historical, monumental text. But the kitschiness that was put into The Hobbit, while it didn't necessarily bother me, I know it did bother a lot of people, and it bothered a lot of Tolkien fans. The fact that there were certain characters and romances that were not in the book bothered a lot of people because, again, not true to the book. I don't think they did anything that was out of the realm of possibility of things that could have been going on while this story was playing out, because they're things that Bilbo wouldn't have known about, so he wouldn't have been able to write it because this was written by Bilbo, you know? Personally, I liked the trilogy, but I have never felt the need to rewatch them the way I feel the need to rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like, you know, every few months or whatever.
Yeah. And I feel like in Lord of the Rings, because it was so close to his writing, there's something very genuine about an author's character that you can always find something to kind of like feel with them. Like, you're like, we're the same in this aspect. Because it is an author's writing and there's so much depth to the character, and they were able to portray that in the movies. Where I felt like The Hobbit, you really couldn't become attached to any character because it was too much Hollywood-esque and Hollywood writing, so it was very quick-paced. There wasn't a lot of character build within it.
That's true.
Even with Bilbo. I thought at least I can find something that I have in common with him. Like, I understand you. I get it. The greediness, maybe. I'm pretty greedy. But you get what I'm saying. It's not like that time spent on a character. It was a Hollywood character. Everybody was a Hollywood character in the trilogy. It was like, quick, you're the romance character. You're only focused on this aspect. If nobody's kind of going through this right now in the relationship, they're not really going to get it. Okay, so you're the protagonist. This is what's going on in the movie so that all these things can happen. I don't know. It just felt forced, rushed.
It felt forced. I disagree that people wouldn't be able to relate. I felt like all of the characters were relatable in certain ways. But it definitely did feel forced. And I guess that's supposed to be because it's just for fun. Right. It's not really meant to. So we're going to say that Adaptation was so-so. It was
so-so. Yeah. Like, I enjoyed watching the movies, but like she said, there's no rewatch.
Much better as a book.
Yes, much better as a book. Much better. Please read the book. It's great.
And get the special edition copy. It's so pretty.
It's very pretty.
This was given to me as a gift, by the way, by an old friend.
Aw.
Let's go with something a little lighter than The Lord of the Rings. We started out with the longest description. I think all of our other comparisons will be a lot shorter.
Oh yeah, this will be great. So we're diehard Lord of the Rings. Let's move on.
Well, we went very good adaptation, so adaptation. Let's do
horrible?
A horrible adaptation?
Yes, horrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready for this. Let's do this. Okay, guys. You ready? Oh! No! Okay, first of all, no.
Okay, so back when I was a freshman in high school, I did read the Twilight Saga. Yeah, put your guns down, put your weapons down, pitchforks and torches.
I ain't even gonna judge.
I understand. Okay, I was a young person, and honestly, I haven't reread them.
Don't.
I'm sure I would hate them now. I'm sure I would hate them. But when I first read them, I was very hesitant. I didn't like, tween romance. I didn't like books written in first-person point of view from an angsty teenage girl. But I really liked the Twilight Saga when I first read it. And then the movies came out.
She and I have very different opinions on the movies, guys.
Dear God, did I think they were horrible. I thought the acting was stale and flat. I thought they got Bella's character all wrong. She was all depressed and awkward. She was just supposed to be clumsy. She wasn't even clumsy in the movies. Edward was way less charming and way more creepy, in my opinion. All of the other characters were just, like, perfect all the time just because they were vampires. And, I don't know. It just, oh my God, it was so horrible. It was so horrible. So, all right. She disagrees with me.
Okay, I don't disagree with her on every movie. I will say 1 and 2, bleh. I'll say that, okay?
And to be fair, I've only seen the first 2 movies because I wasn't about to watch the others.
Right, the other 2. So
by then, I avidly hated the series, so it didn't matter
So the first 2 movies, I will say, because I've read the series as well, and I was into teen romance and fun supernatural books at the time that I read them. And I will say, I was not a fan of the books much either because of the stuff that I was reading at the time was still more mature than these books. So I felt like these were childish romance. You know, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. You know, you can hear the character's voice in your head. Meh, meh, meh. So that's how I describe these books. These are meh, meh, meh. Romance books. You just go meh, meh, meh. And that's the kind of romance book it is. So that's what that is. You know, I am now 26, so I have moved on to a lot more Fabio romance. So.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, but the movie, I just want to specifically, because she brought this book out, Breaking Dawn, I want to specifically talk about Breaking Dawn. So I didn't like the first couple, but like Breaking Dawn was not a bad movie for book adaptation. When I saw this one, I was like, okay, I think they're getting it.
Let me go throw up.
Oh my God, no! So when this one came out, I was like, you know, I'm not going to go see it. But then I had a couple friends, Christina,
oh my goodness,
that really wanted to see it.
I need to throw up.
And she said she'd pay for my ticket. So then I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. Let's go. You paid for my ticket. Let's go. So we went and saw it. And like, I remember reading this one and I thought, oh my God, this is just, why am I still reading? Like, why am I still reading?
Honestly, it was the worst book. It really was.
I saw the movie. It's probably the best movie though, because the book was so bad it was easy to follow to make a movie.
It was probably easy to make better because if you start at rock bottom, you can only go up, right?
So the movie, if you were like, I want to watch a Twilight movie, you could literally watch Breaking Dawn and you would know everything going on. And it would probably be the best movie you watch out of the entire series. So I will say, book adaptation, I'm going to disagree with you. Book adaptation to movie, not saying the book's great, not saying the movie's great, but it's a good adaptation.
If we're only qualifying it by, did it capture the feeling of the book? Then I guess so.
Yes, it did.
Did it capture our hearts?
No. Let's
okay.
put that away.
Well, then let's do this one. This is just Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, but we were going to talk about the Da Vinci Code, which I've neither read nor seen the movie, but according to Kimmy, it's not as great as people let on.
Okay, so because I'll just talk about this, I guess, because I'm the one that's seen it and read it. So the Da Vinci Code books for me, the Da Vinci Code was a really fun mystery book. So if you like mystery with a little bit of romance thrown in, but like really more like, oh my God, mind blown by chapter like 30, holy crap. This is a great series to read. I love the Da Vinci Code. It was different.
Cool.
It was different. It was well received too. Like a lot of people read it and really liked it.
I've wanted to read it since I was like 12. So
there's something for everybody in this book, in the series. There's something for everybody in the series. He did a really good job of writing something new and fresh. So then they were like, oh, we're going to take this new fresh thing and we're going to make a movie out of it. And we're going to star Tom Hanks.
Can't go wrong with Tom Hanks.
Okay. They tried, and honestly, Tom Hanks did his damned best. Okay? So, when I went and saw the movies, I was very disappointed because I was expecting kind of like how I felt Lord of the Rings. I was expecting to recapture what I felt with a book, like you always do with a book adaptation.
Right.
You always expect to capture the best of the book. Because the movie's not going to be the 8 hours I just spent on the series. It's going to be the 2 hours and, I think, 2 hours and 10 minutes, whatever it is, you know, to collapse all the best parts. They took the semi-best parts, flashed at the best parts, and then gave Tom Hanks a horrible surrounding to act in that it made him fail. So I was just like, oh my God, I was so disappointed.
So the book was pretty controversial at the time. Did they mute the controversial aspects?
No. So in the movie, they did not mute the controversial aspects. They decided, sorry, I'm like getting ahead of myself. I'm so worked out about this. They decided to make the movie good. We're going to take all the controversial things in here about the Catholic Church and we're going to make it the main point. That was like not actually the main point of the book. The main point of the book, though controversial because it went against a lot of the Catholic Church and they did not like it. But the main point of the book was this man refining what it meant to be human. Refining what it meant to be mortal, to die one day, what there is to fear in life and how to live.
That sounds way more meaningful than...
It is.
Oh, the Catholic Church is keeping secrets.
That's all the movie was. That is all the movie was.
Which they totally are, by the way.
Well, they are, obviously. But, like, that, like, the main point was this man rediscovering what it meant to be human, what religion is to humans, why we have it, why it's important to have some aspect of what afterlife is, because you cannot deny the afterlife is going to happen. You can deny whether something does happen or not when you die, but you can't deny death. So it was about a man coming to terms with that and finding answers. And that was the cool part. You know, it was just discovering this awesome outline to his life and how he relived it and how he, you know, just thought of his past to his future, and he realized that it was just all one big part. Like, it was circular, not linear, and he found all these secrets. And it was really cool, and it was something we can relate to because everybody knows Catholicism. Even if you're not Catholic, you still know what the Catholics believe in because it is so popular, it is so ingrained in everyday life. So everybody, Catholics and non-Catholics, enjoyed this book or hated the book. Everybody knew about it. So when the movie came out, So when the movie came out, they were like, we're only going to hit these popular points. And then it just completely lost the meaning of the entire story.
That's a bummer.
And Tom Hanks would have played him so well if they stuck to the meaning of the story.
Yeah, that's really
He would have done a great job.
It's a shame. So, excellent book. That sure makes me want to read it.
Dude, I think I have a copy. Like, let me go through my boxes. I'm pretty sure I still have the copy.
Okay, please. Because now I actually really want to read it.
It's really good.
I wanted to read it, but now that I know, it's like way more than what it's been led on to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so not a good movie adaptation. Controversial opinion.
Down.
All right. What do we have next? Well, let's talk about... another really good one.
Sure.
But I don't have a copy of this book, unfortunately. At least not here. I have one in my my classroom.
Your classroom. Yes, she's a teacher. She's a high school teacher, everybody. I think we already knew that.
Did we know that?
I don't know, guys. She's a high school teacher.
Well, apparently the cat's out of the bag. So, Holes!
Oh my god! So good. Okay, I'll let you go on this one, though.
Okay. In my opinion... great book, even better movie.
Agreed. And
that rarely happens.
Rarely.
I just think the book's premise is so simple. It's a young adult book, so it's a children's book, really. Mm-hmm. People were reading this when I was in
fourth grade.
Yeah.
Even when the movie came out.
Yeah, before the movie came out, people were reading it. That was around fourth grade. Mm-hmm. So this was a very popular story to begin with, but the movie adaptation captured everything that happened in the book. It was 100% accurate to the book, but I think the acting was so amazing. Mm-hmm. The cast, the setting, the soundtrack, the editing, everything captured the essence of the book and amplified it. So things happen in the book, but you're really getting one-sided perspective, whereas in The movie, you get to see everybody's experiences and you can feel it, and you can even sympathize with the antagonist. And I don't know, it was just, it was an amazing movie. And I get chills when I watch it.
Oh my gosh. So I will say, when we read the book, because we read it as a class. So it was the actually 4th grade year with Mrs. Ruffleth. It was crazy. We read like Holes and Everlasting Tuck and all sorts of stuff that started coming out as movies as we were together. So it was like we got to see it as a group then, right? Yeah. But reading the book, I liked it. I did. I really did. And I loved the flashbacks to Kissing Kate Barlow.
Yes, those were my
favorites. But I loved the things with Zero too, and his grandma, and Stanley Yelnats. That's so fun hearing about his family past and all that kind of. But it was the flashbacks in the books that I loved. They were better in the movie. Yeah, they were fantastic in the movie. It was so fun to see Kissing Kate Barlow. Like that was it wasn't like they did the flashback to her. This is what happened. It was like you got to see her. Like, oh my God, it's Kissing Kate Barlow! I
know, it was like a little treat every time we got a flashback.
Oh my God.
But then you go back to the movie, to like the main storyline, and it's like still as intriguing, and mysteries are being like unraveled like at every turn, and I don't know. It was just like, it's just such a fun movie. Not a minute of that movie is boring.
No, not a single minute. Even when his dad's explaining the stupid, like, inventions he made. Yeah. It is not dumb. When he made deodorant for shoes, like, legit, it was still a good part of the movie.
Right.
It was great.
I just, and I always cry by the end of that movie from, like, happiness. And that so rarely happens in a movie these days.
I did not cry at the end of the book. When they all were at the pool party in the book, I did not cry. I did not cry when Stanley's parents took Zero in.
But when Zero finds his mother...
That gets
me every time.
Especially in the movie. The movie, though, because it's one thing to read it, but with a situation like that, and I think maybe because we were young when we read it, so we could really sympathize with them and empathize, because we've been through some of that bullying and all that kind of stuff, but getting to see that, guys, the movie, watch it. So good.
So, one of the few movies that supersedes the book, Holes. Yes. If you have not seen this movie, get out from underneath your rock and go watch it right now.
And then tell Shia LaBeouf he did a wonderful job.
He did! He's so underrated.
He was the best Stanley Yelnats you could ever ask for.
It was like his perfect role.
Oh my God,
kind of sad it happened so early in his acting career. But
it was Transformers happened. Oops.
We won't talk about that. Okay, let's talk about...
We had a lot, guys. Like, we really thought of this.
Harry Potter.
Oh, shit! We're talking whole series, right?
We're gonna quickly, not in depth, talk about the whole series. Which ones do we think were good adaptations, and which ones do we think were not? Were any movies better than the books? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say the books were always better.
Really? One for me. Chamber of Secrets. I felt the movie was better than the book. That's the only one.
Really?
I did.
Interesting.
That's the only one, though. That's the only one.
I actually started reading this series when I was 7, and it was just the kind of book that could literally make you laugh out loud when you were reading it.
Yeah, it was.
And so, like, you felt, like, really attached to these characters. So even though I honestly don't think J.K. Rowling is, like, the best author ever, she gave me a huge part of my childhood, and I could never thank her enough for that. Like, this was so influential on me. So I am of the opinion that all of the books are better than all of the movie adaptations. But that is my personal opinion. Now, whether or not I think objectively the movies are good adaptations of the book, I honestly think 1, 2, 4, and 7. Both parts of 7. Those are the only ones I think are good adaptations. I think 3 is a bad adaptation. It's not the worst.
No, Prisoner of Azkaban was not that bad.
When I first watched it, it just did not feel like Harry Potter to me, and it made me really upset. Mm-hmm. Rewatching it now, I enjoy it a lot more. But, I mean, like, I really love David Thewlis and Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
So
they
like,
did a great job.
They did a good job. But like when it first came out, it was like jarringly not how I felt Harry Potter.
Right.
Like it didn't feel like it fit the world. So that upset me. But then I think 5 and 6 were very rushed and left out very important parts that made the world feel like Harry Potter. I felt like it was almost like more teen romance drama when they started doing 5 and 6.
That's Hollywood for you, though.
Yeah, it just like it. That I don't think they were good.
But then
adaptations.
they did 7.
And then 7 was great though.
7 was great, and so it was a good way to end.
Right.
It really was.
At least it ended on a good note. Now, do you agree with that list, or do you disagree?
No, I'm going to disagree. So, 1 was really cool because I think 1 is equal. I honestly, when I read the first Harry Potter book and then I saw the first movie, I go off, instead of like specifics in books versus movies and like what I think is important or whatever, I go off more of how I felt by the end. So by the end of the first book versus the end of the first movie, it was equal for me. This was the world of Harry Potter. This was his story. Yes, there wasn't the fun stuff, extra stuff he did while at school, but it got the main point across. He is special. His friends are special. They all have very unique special abilities. You know, this is what they're meant to be in the story. He's got his enemies who later aren't enemies, but you don't know that. You know, so it was just fun introduction to Harry Potter. 2, I thought the movie was better than The Chamber of Secrets, and I will tell you the reason why. So when I read the book, The Chamber of Secrets, I was very upset about a lot of the writing. So there was a lot of things that I did not agree with in the book.
When did you read it? How old were you?
I was like 15 or 16.
Oh, okay.
So like I was too old for it.
Yeah.
And that's part of it.
Yeah.
So I read Harry Potter too late.
Yeah.
So, but I never saw the movies first. I always read a book before I saw the movies.
Good for you. I'm proud of you.
I was always one of those. So I was probably 15 or 16. So I was actually 8 when I read the first Harry Potter.
Okay.
And I was probably 9 or 10 when I saw the movie.
Okay.
So, like, I read the book. Oh, the movie's out. I didn't get to see it in theaters. Didn't even know it was, but my grandma bought the DVD. Let's watch it.
Okay.
So it was one of those things. And then it was like, oh my God, yes, I remember this is the book, blah, blah, blah. I went to a Lutheran school, guys. I did not have access to Harry Potter, unfortunately. So mine was going to the library or my mom buying it. So then,
well, I'm lucky because I also went to a Christian school, so we weren't allowed to read Harry Potter. But my mom is always big on all of the new sci-fi fantasy stuff coming out. So I was always up to date on all of the Harry Potter stuff.
Right.
Thank God.
So then, and I will agree with you about Prisoner of Azkaban. I do agree. When I read the book was still fun-loving Harry Potter. It got dark. But it was still fun-loving, where the movie just focused on the dark. Yeah. But I understand why the movie had to focus on the dark for the further movies coming up. 4, I honestly... 4 is the Goblet of Fire, right? Yes. I'm in the right order. Okay.
Yes.
So 4, I loved the movie.
I thought it was a really great movie.
I loved the movie. I hated the book. It was too long. It was too long for me. There was too much stuff I really didn't care about anymore. Like, I was more now focused on the main story than all this kitschy side shit. I am sorry. I'm 18 at this point. Like, I am into Harry Potter. Like, I'm into his story.
That's fair. Okay.
So, but then Half-Blooded Prince came out. It has been out, obviously. But, like, then I decided I'd read it because the movie was coming out. I loved Half-Blooded Prince. There was Half-Blood Prince. There was a lot of twists. That's the twist book.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
The book was amazing.
I didn't like the movie.
They left out everything good.
Yeah, they did leave out a lot of good stuff in the movie. I didn't like the movie. The movie, I understood, was still, like I said, in the Hollywood aspect, it's still going with the series. So it had to go in this direction. And so you didn't get a lot of the great other stuff. Because you got a lot of the side character twists. You got a lot of the family twists. You got a lot of, which they didn't show in the movie.
6 was a very, like, romance-driven movie.
Yes.
Which is totally not the point.
I don't care about the ball. Like that, they could have, no. I'm sorry, I didn't like that. I didn't like the Half-Blood Prince movie at all.
I didn't either.
I would probably, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it again. But then, and then the 7th. So I love the 7th book. It was a great ending. And I love what they did. They split it into 2 movies, thank God, because I thought if they only had this in one movie, I'd be pissed.
They were going to ruin it.
I was going to be pissed. I'm glad it was in 2 movies. The movies were great. They ended Harry Potter. So I say if you read the series versus watching the series, you're going to end with almost the same result, feeling-wise. So I think it was okay. I think they did an okay job. They
It was-
captured Harry Potter, kind of how it grew.
Yes.
Yes.
It was hit or miss, but they captured the essence of Harry Potter.
They did. It's not going to be as fun as reading. Read the books, guys. It's fun. I mean, even as an adult, I still did enjoy it more than I think I enjoyed watching the movies.
As an adult, they're an easy read.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But yeah, they were good.
And it's a huge part of our culture now. So, get up to date, yo.
Yo,
Kids.
do it.
Okay.
Harry Potter's hard, guys. That is like, what is that? 8 movies, 7 books? Holy shit.
Triggered! I am a huge Dr. Seuss fan.
Oh, I am too.
Huge. And I love the Lorax with all my heart. I, as an adult, will read this book and get teary-eyed because of how relevant it is.
Okay, so
The
we're
movie.
we're not talking about the animated movie that was made in the 50s. We're
no.
not talking about
Well,
that.
not the 50s, but
Sorry,
okay.
60s, sorry.
Or 70s.
I don't know.
Pretty sure it was made in the 70s or 80s.
We'll look it up.
We could look it up
It's
later.
fine. But we're talking about the recent, like, horrible...
There was a CGI
Yes.
animated adaptation that came out in like 2012 or 2013.
Horrible, guys. Just... It made a mockery of Dr. Seuss.
Talking about it makes me want to barf in my mouth. It is so horrible. It did not capture the essence of the book. It did not focus on the main moral of the story. It did not present it in a way that felt natural or meaningful. It was totally Hollywood, totally trying to make money off of kids, totally making awkward references to modern day things that totally dated the movie and made it feel superficial, and so like only little kids would like it and adults couldn't get any entertainment out of it.
It was against everything Dr. Seuss was about.
Right, if you know anything about Theodore Geisler and like who Dr. Seuss really was, he would have hated that movie and what it was doing.
It was ridiculous how awful it basically was. Like, I don't know how it made me sad. It literally made me cry, not because it was good. It made me cry because Theodore Seuss Geisel was like this wonderful, opinionated man who made his opinions public and easy to access and was helping society by teaching children at a young age these important lessons to keep society as a whole growing, and they made a mockery of it. And it was just so... I'm about to cry. It was so heartbreaking to watch this.
We hate this movie. So we're not going to keep talking about it because all we're going to do is bash how horrible it is. Of course, all of the original hand-drawn animated Dr. Seuss movies were wonderful, beautiful. They were just like live-action versions of the book. They were the original art brought to life.
That's all it was.
That's all it was.
Original script, it was amazing.
Trying to extend it into a full-length kids movie that makes like modern references and jokes and like it's cringy. It's horrible.
It's not
it's
good,
disgusting.
Guys. It was horrible.
Now, on the other hand, if we're talking about the modern adaptation, the CGI animated version, Hollywood, if you want to do it right, do what Horton Hears a Who did.
Yes.
Because I actually did not hate this one. This is the one that had the little emo who, JoJo.
Yeah.
I think his name was JoJo.
Yeah, it was JoJo.
And it had like some parts that were like, it flashed to like comic book style animation. And it turned Horton into this like very like socially awkward, rambunctious, adventurous character. But I don't think it was a horrible movie. I remember, like, I saw this movie when I was a teenager, so I was, like, extra critical, and I saw it with my family, so I was extra easily embarrassed. But I remember, like, leaving the theater thinking that it was actually a good movie, and that it made me feel something, which is what this book is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you feel like people matter, and that, like, you can't just do what the people in charge tell you to do because it's not always right. So I think that although the original animated version is always going to be better in my opinion because I'm very nostalgic and I like old-fashioned things, I do think the modern CGI version did a good job of capturing the essence, even though it was also kitschy and weird.
Yes, but they did what Theodore would have wanted. So his point of writing these books was for kids to think against what society is training them to think.
Right.
That was his main goal with all of these books. Most of them, anyway. Some of them were really just to help kids learn how to read. But this one specifically was to... So society... The first thing... So this is what it's always said. The first thing you think is what society is training you to think.
Yeah.
Think again, and that's how you actually feel. And that is exactly what this book is telling you to do. And that's actually how I felt after the movie. After seeing the movie, though it was, of course, so off from the book. It was definitely for today and the kids and whatever. It still was the message. They got the message. And that's what made the movie great. I walked away with fun songs, fun memories. It was a cute little emo boy. We've all gone through the emo phase. You know, it was really fun for us.
The little emo who was super cute.
Yes! But even after all that pretty stuff on top, I still walked away emotional because, yeah, everybody does matter. Doesn't matter who you are. So it was a great movie. It was
a good movie,
Yeah, it still made you feel what he would have wanted.
Right. If you're gonna show your kids any of the updated Dr. Seuss movies, please show them this one. I'm not looking forward to the Grinch adaptation that's coming out. I really don't feel like we need it. We've had a live action version that people liked. I didn't really like it.
I did.
I don't think we need an animated version of the Grinch. It's such a simple short story. I don't think we need a full-length feature film made out of it. But whatever, they're gonna make it anyway.
Right. It's already announced.
Let's talk about another horrible one. The Little White Horse.
Oh my god, yes! Okay. For those...
Have you had enough wine for this?
Yes, I have. So, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have probably tuned out already. But for those of you who have stayed, this is going to be great, guys. Okay. So, Little White Horse. Please read the book. I am just going to be completely honest with you. Doesn't matter what you're into, you're going to like Little White Horse. The reason being you're going to like it is because it is nothing you've ever read before. So, Little White Horse is actually a lot of adventure. It's very adventurous. It kind of almost reminded, but it's very weird and a little creepy with a little bit of romance going on. So it really reminded me of The Labyrinth.
Yeah.
It had a very Labyrinth feel. So it was very like honestly, David Bowie could show up in the book and I would not be surprised.
Like, just David Bowie.
Just David Bowie.
Like, he
not the Goblin King.
No.
Like, David Bowie.
He would be a character in the book, yeah.
Yeah, he would do great. Yeah. Which is why when the movie came out and David Bowie wasn't in it, and I was like, what the hell?
But Tim Curry was, which...
was weird.
Was weird, but good casting. Okay, I just love Tim Curry. So he could be in anything, and I'd be like...
Yeah, that'd be fine. Then
I'll
we'd
watch
be like,
it.
oh yeah. Yeah, Tim Curry's in it? Hell yeah.
That's
so that
actually the only reason we watched it.
Yeah. It was...
So we found it randomly on Netflix, right?
Yes. So, we watched the movie first. I did not read the book first. We watched the movie first. No, I did.
It wasn't called The Little White Horse, though.
No, it was...
It was like Moon something.
Moon Daughter, something like that.
It was weird. It was dumb.
But it was based off The Little White Horse. And so when you say something is... It didn't say loosely based, honestly. It said based. If it said loosely, I'd be like, okay, well, that's what they took from the book. That was it. It would have been fine. No, they said based off of the book.
It was so confusing and bad. Oh my god, it was so boring. Why do we even finish that movie?
I think because we had a really good time making fun of it.
We did. We were making fun of it constantly.
So we watched the movie and I was like, I know I've read this book. I know what's happening.
Huh.
So I reread The Little White Horse because I went on to Thrift Books. Everybody go to Thrift Books. Everything we've been talking about today, you can get on Thrift Books for $3.75 or less, let's be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, so they better pay me now.
This is not a sponsored video, by the way.
I love Thrift Books. Some things are a little more expensive, but most things $3.75 or less. And anyway, I got it and I read it in a night because it's a kid's book. It's not even a young adult. Like, it's meant for third graders. Like, It was a super easy read. But it was an adventure book, and it was really fun. The movie was shit.
It was so bad.
It was for somebody that not read it at all, and the fact that they could say a movie is bad, that means your movie is really bad.
It was just a bad movie.
It was a bad movie. Casting was bland. Tim Curry, that was good, but everything else was bland. There was a very good romance that was like the main point of the book. They didn't make it the main point of the movie. They made it more of a side point that became a main point at the end. So that was bad.
The whole time you were like, why is this happening? Why is she able to do this? What's going on? Who is this person? Like, it was just confusing to the point of, oh, it's not mysterious. Like, I want to keep finding out what these things mean. It was just so confusing and stale, and like, it felt like they didn't know how to convey their ideas.
There was like a point in the movie where she could like open a wall, and we were like, why can she do that? And then like, in a book, when somebody does something, somebody was like, oh, you can, oh, I can't believe you figured out the mystery of this, because this happens. So you're like, oh, I get it. In the movie, she just did it and, like, moved on. And we were like, what?
Bad movie adaptation.
Oh, bad.
Straight bad. Book okay, movie terrible.
Oh my gosh, it was Moon something. Moon Princess?
The Moon Princess.
The Moon Princess. I think it was.
I think
the
it
Moon
was
Princess.
too.
And she was supposed to be the Moon Princess, which in the book she's not.
What?
No, in the book it's the
Oh,
adult
yeah.
female.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
the Moon Princess, which you also find out in the movie right at the butt end that she wasn't even the Moon Princess.
So,
it was so
moving
bad.
on. Don't want to focus on that anymore. Let's just talk about two more real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We're wrapping up this episode. I have The Circle here underneath Fellowship. And this book is by Dave Eggers. I had to read it for a class in college. It's like a modern version of 1984. Big Brother is watching you. Capitalist corporate America is trying to take over our lives. And the book was very good, very easy to read. And when I heard they were making a movie adaptation, I was actually excited because I thought this is super relevant to what's going on today with companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon. And this is like a modern story that people would be totally pumped to watch. So I heard that they cast Emma Watson as the main character, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then I saw that they cast Tom Hanks as the founder of The Circle, which is the company that's like equivalent to Google, which is weird because he's supposed to be young and they cast Tom Hanks, but whatever. Like, Tom Hanks is usually a good bet for casting an interesting character, right?
Well, we saw that.
And it came out and it's on DVD and I never heard a thing about it. When it was in theaters, I didn't even know it was in theaters. Like, I knew it was coming out before it came out. And I don't remember how I found out, but then, like,
it was all
never
over Facebook.
Never heard about it. Never had any of my friends see it. Never heard any reviews, whether it's good or bad. It just totally, like, flopped. Honestly, I don't even know how it did in the box office. But I was pretty disappointed. Part of me wants to, like, believe it's, like, a conspiracy and, like, the big companies like Google and Facebook spent a lot of money so that it wouldn't be advertised properly, so that people wouldn't be afraid of their companies and their products. You should read the book, The Circle. It's very fun. It makes you think. So I just wanted to, like, point that out. Yeah. Sometimes there's a movie adaptation that seems totally plausible and that's based on a really good book, but people just never find out about it. And finally, this book is a timeless classic and is coming out as a movie, like a live action movie for the first time, and it will be coming out soon.
Oh yeah, guys. Okay, can I just say, love Winnie the Pooh, huge fan of Ian McGregor.
Ewan McGregor is so amazing.
Okay, now I'm going to be completely honest. When we were talking about this a couple weeks ago as an idea, I saw the previews and I was like, ugh, I'm really not looking forward to this. Did you see the new preview with all the characters in it?
Yes, I think so.
The one where you watch him as Christopher Robin go into his old world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he, like, rescues Eeyore and all that kind of stuff. Made me a little happy.
I don't know. I think it could be good. I think they could totally screw it up and make it weird. I don't think it's necessary. It's definitely loosely based on The House at Pooh Corner and other stories about Winnie the Pooh.
This is true.
I used to love the animated Winnie the Pooh movies when I was little. So it'll be really interesting to see how they make Winnie the Pooh relevant today and how they capture the essence of Winnie the Pooh through the eyes of an adult Christopher Robin.
Yes. Okay, so that was the one thing that I was appreciative of. I was glad they did not do a boy Christopher Robin and just retry to do the stories.
Yeah, that would have been horrible.
I was very happy with that. And I'm happy with the casting with Ian because he's a very whimsical character. He can play a lot of different characters that are all whimsical. He played, he played Obi-Wan.
Well, of course, he's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. But he also played Adam in that movie, Adam and Eve, where it was Adam and Eve they were, like, born in, like, the modern society.
Really?
And yes. Oh, my God, we'll watch that movie. It's not called Adam and Eve. It's called something Adam and Eve. I'll have to figure out the main title.
Sounds interesting.
It's actually really fun. But, like, every time I see Ian, he's very...
Ewan.
Sorry, Ewan. I always say Ian. Ewan.
It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah. He's very, I just want to say he's very childlike, almost. He's very adult and childlike at the same time. So I think that's what's going to make him a good Christopher Robin, is because he is trying to be adult. But when he came back into the world with Pooh and saw all his old friends, you could see Christopher Robin on his face. That's what I found really cool. So I'm really looking forward to watching.
All right, we'll have to see. And you can leave your comments on our videos and on our Facebook, / Millennial Focus Group. Do you think that the Christopher Robin movie is going to be a good adaptation? Or when it comes out, tell us what you think. Did it capture the essence of the book? Was it better than reading the Winnie the Pooh stories? And you can tell us if you agree or disagree with any of the opinions that we've shared tonight. You can also reach us on Twitter at Avocado Toasties. You can reach us via email if you have any comments or ideas, mfgpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Instagram, MFG Podcast, so you can follow us there. And we are on YouTube now, still working on editing and putting up some fresh new videos for you guys. All you have to do is search Millennial Focus Group. So, that's going to wrap up our books versus movie adaptations videos, and we're the Ava Cuties, and we will see you next time.
Peace,
Bye.
guys!